Where are the top 10 places to invest in New Zealand outside of the main centres? That's what a recent subscriber wanted to know, so that's what you're going to get. Hi, I'm Ed McKnight, an economist at Opus Partners, and this is Property Now. In number 10, we've got Queenstown. Now, I've never really been that much of a fan of Queenstown, and the reason is that it is so heavily reliant on tourism, and COVID showed us that. But property prices in Queenstown over the last decade have increased really quickly. And the reason is that it's a beautiful place. People want to move to Queenstown, and it's not just rich Aucklanders selling up and moving there. Big international names like Peter Thiel and Shania Twain have previously owned homes in this district. You know, other big names like Jack Ma from Alibaba, even Tom Cruise have said that they'd like to buy there. And that kind of interest, both from New Zealand and overseas, along with the fact that there's not that much land there, just mean that property prices in Queenstown will likely remain high and increase into the future. On top of that, incomes in this part of New Zealand are really high, and property managers tell me that there is currently a massive rental shortage as more properties turn into Airbnbs. And remember, I'm recording this video because one of you guys asked for it, so if you have an idea for another video as well, let me know down in the comment section. In number 9, I've got Gisborne, number 8 is Whanganui, number 7 is Levin, and at number 6, I've got Tokoroa. Now, these are all relatively small cities in the middle of the North Island, and they've all got between 25,000 and 50,000 people living in them. And I've lumped them all together because they are quite similar. You see, when I look at areas to invest, I look at 6 major factors. And in my spreadsheet, red is good and blue is bad, white is somewhere in the middle. All these cities have relatively small populations, they're home to people on relatively modest incomes, and importantly, they're in the wrong part of their property cycle. They look really overvalued at the moment. So I don't think that their house values are going to increase much over the next 5 to 10 years, but there are 2 reasons why these areas make the list. Firstly, properties are more affordable in these areas. And rents are pretty high, so the gross yield, the rental return an investor gets, is pretty good. I mean, look at Tokoroa. Over the last month in the South Waikato district, the average or median sale value of a property was $390,000. Really cheap. That means that the gross yield on average is about 5.5%, and you could probably get something a wee bit higher if you invest there. Same for Levin, Whanganui, and Gisborne. So if you only care about rental yield and are less concerned with your property going up in value, one of these parts of the mid-North Island could be the right fit for you. And if you want to play around with this data yourself, I'll release it for free on our website. The link will be down in the description. At number 5 and 4 are the towns at the top of the South Island. I'm talking about Richmond, Nelson, and Blenheim in that order. And the reason for this is that properties in these areas, yep, they're a little bit undervalued, but incomes are pretty strong as well, and rental yields not so bad because prices are below the national average. One interesting thing about Blenheim is its really strong wine growing industry. You see, Marlborough is undoubtedly the heavyweight of New Zealand's wine industry. Over 3/4 of our wine grapes in New Zealand are grown in the region. And 18% of Marlborough's economy is directly attributable to wine. Sounds like a great place to live. That means that almost 1/4 of all jobs are supported by the wine industry, which is one of the reasons why Marlborough's economy is the 6th largest out of all New Zealand regions once you adjust for size of population. That puts them ahead of the Nelson Tasman region and also ahead of some of those other areas we've talked about. You know, Tokoroa, which is in the Waikato district, ahead of Whanganui and Levin, which are in the Manawatu-Whanganui region, and also Gisborne. Number 2 and 3 on the list are Kaiapoi and Rangiora. Now, these are 2 small towns just north of Christchurch, about a 20 to 30 minute drive away. Other than the main centres, these are the most undervalued parts of New Zealand right now, at least for towns with a population of over 10,000 people. They have strong incomes, they've got decent sized populations, and on top of that, the population in the Waimakariri district is expected to grow by 25% over the next 25 years. The other good thing about these towns is that there are lots of properties being built in these areas right now. So if you're interested in new builds, Rangiora and Kaipoi, good places to look. And I should say that the reason we often talk about the main centres on this YouTube channel is because they are the most undervalued parts of New Zealand right now, and incomes there are really strong. You see, people have invested in the regions recently, which has pushed property prices up above where we'd expected them to be, and that's what creates the opportunity in the main centres. And before I reveal the number one spot, if you like learning about property in this fact-based way, make sure you subscribe to the channel. We release new videos every Monday and Wednesday. And if you do already subscribe, can you guess which city gets the number one spot? The number one spot of the best small town to invest in New Zealand is Ashburton. Why? It is undervalued. It's really affordable to invest in. Incomes are decent and gross yields are high. And it's a town I've been interested in for a while because of all of these factors. The only thing about Ashburton is that it only works if you're investing in existing properties and doing renovations right now. You see, if you're more interested in new builds, Ashburton doesn't make as much sense because developers are charging the same price to buy a property in Ashburton as they are somewhere else like in Kaipoi or Rangiora. You see, the benefit of Ashburton is that it's cheap. The median sale price of a property there was under $500,000 last month. But because a lot of the new builds in this area are too expensive, at least by my numbers, you're better off investing somewhere else, but lots of opportunities in Ashburton for renovators right now. And if you want to invest in property, head over to our website, opuspartners.co.nz. We help regular Kiwis grow their wealth by investing in new build properties. And don't forget, you can access all of my data through the link down in the description.